Hi, my name is Ben Ramirez, and today I'm going to be breaking down the Imagineering process behind designing and making the rides and attractions at Disneyland. So let's jump right into it, into what I like to call phase one, which is the idea phase for these Imagineers. And the Imagineering website breaks down this phase into two steps that the Imagineers go through. And this first step is the blue sky step, and the second step is the concept step. So I know the blue sky step seems a little vague, but we'll go into it right now. So in this blue sky step, the Imagineers, this is where the Imagineers go for inspiration for the idea for the ride. In the documentary, the Imagineering Story on Disney Plus, written by Mark Catalina and directed and produced by Leslie Iwerks, the Imagineers talk about how the inspiration for the Jungle Cruise came from the Amazon River itself. And if you've never experienced or seen or heard about the Jungle Cruise, basically it's a water safari through the jungle on a boat. So you can see the similarities between the inspiration and the actual ride. And then once they have the inspiration, they go into the research. An example of this research is seen with the Indiana Jones ride, as in the article Today in Disney History, Indiana Jones Adventure opened at Disneyland Park in 1995 by Michael Ramirez, who was a public relations director at Disneyland Resort. He writes that inspiration for the Sandstone Temple, which is seen in the queue in Indiana Jones, came from Hindu temples in Cambodia and temples in India. And that's where this inspiration and this research collide into making a fully focused idea. And this idea gets even more focused when it goes into the concept step. And this is where the Imagineers tackle, as the website puts it, the specifics of how the experience will look, sound, smell, and feel. So an example of this is seen in Soarin' Over California in Disney California Adventure. In the ride, the park goers or the ride goers go through different parts of the world. For example, they go to the Arctic and you feel the cold breeze on your face, and then they actually go to the Amazon and you feel and you smell just freshly dropped rain, and you even fly over Disneyland through the fireworks and you hear these fireworks going by, and it feels like you're actually there. So once the Imagineers have gone through these two steps, the blue sky step and the concept step, that puts them into phase two, which is finalizing the idea. And this phase two, the Imagineering website puts in two more steps of the whole process, which is the feasibility step and the design step. So what the feasibility step, as described by the website again, is the what will make it real. And this is where the Imagineers wrestle with how to get this ride into fruition while still obeying the laws of physics and using what they have at the time. For an example of this is seen in Behind the Ride, Space Mountain, by David Mumpower, where he talks about how Space Mountain originally started as an attraction with animatronics in Walt Disney World. And because it was limited by the technologies of its time. And this is seen in the quote that he writes, where he says, the hardware required to build what they were now calling Space Mountain didn't exist yet. The attraction wouldn't open for another several years. So Imagineers have to make sure that they can make their idea with what they have at the moment, which leads to some great creations. So after they go through the feasibility step, then they go into the design step. And the design step is where the Imagineers start creating concept art for the ride. So basically what's going to look like. And then they create models from that concept art. For example, in the same documentary that I mentioned before, the Imagineers painted up pirates that you see in the ride today, and they made models of them. And that's how Pirates of the Caribbean started coming together. And after they've gone through the feasibility step and the design step, this moves them into phase three, which is building the ride. And it is also made up of two steps on the Imagineering website, which is the production part and the installation part. So going back to the documentary before, one of the Imagineers at the start of Disneyland, her name was Harriet Burns. She says that we had unique situations being just the three of us in the model shop. Fred was a union model worker, and Wathel was very talented in both mechanical and electrical. And I had this artistic display background. We helped each other. Everything to the model to the production. And we see in this production process the Imagineering goal of working together as a community and building this ride and working to see it in like come to life and for park goers to enjoy and for the public to just experience. And once this ride is being built, that's where the installation comes into, where they pick a spot in Disneyland where like this is the where the ride's gonna go. And after the ride is installed, this where it comes the best part, where park goers can experience the ride for themselves and give feedback to the Imagineers. And that's what they call the final step, which is opening day. And that is the Imagineering process broken down for the attractions and the rides at Disneyland, and I hope you enjoyed.